To talk about drug abuse, I will be joined right now in the studio by someone who knows a lot about it. She is a journalist and filmmaker, Ruona Meyer, whose documentary about drug use was even nominated for an International Emmy Award. This is why.
Investigative journalist Ruona Meyer accompanied Nigerian anti-drug squads battling dealers of codeine, a highly addictive cough syrup. Meyer's work exposed pharmaceutical companies selling the drug illegally and codeine's devastating effects. The ensuing documentary resulted in Nigeria banning the production of codeine.
Welcome, Rona. And congrats on your Emmy. How
Thank
was
you
the
very
feeling
much.
like?
Oh, the feeling is amazing. I mean, more than a year after, because I have it hung up on my wall. And every day I look at it and I say, oh, was that me? It's amazing. That's all I'm going to say. I can't describe it, Michael.
Yeah. Now, your work on prescription drug abuse is very personal
It
because
is.
your brother struggled with drug addiction. How is he
Yes.
doing, first of all?
Oh, he's doing very well. For a long time, he's been totally clean. And he's doing so well that there might just be wedding bells ringing in the family.
Wow, that is really, really good
Thank
news.
you. Thank you.
And you said this in your documentary that if even one person changed or decided not to use codeine after seeing this documentary, you would have done your job.
Yes.
You feel like you have done your job?
I think I have because I've had this whole deluge of personal emails to me, um, even more than 2 years after. Last week, I had one of the emails I had was from a 40-year-old who told me he had watched my documentary and was pleased to say that now he's free. He started his addiction at 35. So that just goes to show that drug addiction can grip anybody, young or old, and regardless of social status.
Your film Sweet Sweet Codeine, which was aired on BBC, led to the ban of codeine production in Nigeria. 2 years on, how well is that ban working?
Well, to be honest, Michael, I think it's a mixed bag. Yes, it did lead to the ban of production of codeine and selling of codeine. It also meant that Nigeria's Food and Drug Agency was allowed to now return to the ports after many years so they can immediately inspect consignment of food and drugs. However, as we know with drug addiction being a business, sellers and addicts have moved on to other drugs, other opiates. So while you might not see codeine in the market as much, you've seen an uptick, an uprise in demand and supply of opiates like tramadol. And this is now becoming the main problem.
How big of a problem is that?
It is such a big problem that more than a quarter of all the tramadol seized in the world a few years ago was from Africa. We're seeing spikes in all sorts of social classes. Some people take it just recreationally. Market women take it to just get by. But there's people that cannot function taking up to 12 pills a day. So it's becoming a problem.
Interesting points there, Rona. Now, from the abuse of codeine to tramadol, West Africa is experiencing a drug crisis. In 2017, West Africa accounted for 77% of all tramadol seized worldwide. What is fueling this increase in the use of tramadol?
So I think what mainly fuels the increase in the use of tramadol is its very nature. If you had to move, think of it as a business. If you had to move cough syrup, you would have to handle bottles. You would have to think of packing it so it doesn't break on the way. This is liquid. But when it comes to tramadol, it is in light tin foil, aluminum packs. It is in all sorts of capsules. I mean, they are coming up with really creative ways to transport tramadol. Just in September, I think, 2017, you had 3 million tramadol pills in Niger that were disguised in UN logo boxes. So the nature of tramadol means it can move very fast. Also, you can easily, and that's what sellers do, they easily get manufacturers in Asia to actually disguise the tramadol in terms of not just higher dosage, but also to disguise the name so that they can in some way pass this off as normal drugs.
And in some reports, the UN has said that former extremists or Boko Haram members who have been arrested, they have found tramadol in their possession.
Correct.
Why is it popular with extremist groups?
Well, from what we know, it's a relaxant. Some users say they feel more relaxed. And I think there was an interview with a suicide bomber who failed at the task, and they were actually given the tramadol so that they would be more relaxed and be able to take on this very deadly mission. It's also been used among fighters as well. Those are documented. And it's also actually noted as being sold as well by extremists to make money. So, as I say, it's a business. At the core of this is the business of addiction.
And how is it that within the sub-region, this business exists, and yet regional bodies like ECOWAS and national governments cannot address this problem?
I might like to put blame on them, but that is the simplistic view. West Africa is traditionally, by its very location, a historic trade route, and that is trade by borders, by land, and by sea. Our countries are so close together that it's very easy for drugs to move through, but also very hard for regulators to take control. When you have a porous border, people will always try to find a way. To be honest, even in countries that are more on top of things, we see drug use as well. We see the rise in opiates, for instance, in the US. So I would like to borrow one of the words of one of the brave law enforcement officers in Kano, Nigeria. And he said, the war on drugs is never won. When you win one battle, you have to move to the next. It's a war. It's an ongoing war.